Sandeep, I want to address some sectors as well. And you have great understanding about the pharma sector. We've touched upon this earlier as well. For now, they're exempt from tariffs, but there is all that noise that eventually it's going to be 250% tariffs. What's the practicality of it? And for Indian investors, do you now make that disconnect that let's look at India-focused pharma companies as opposed to the ones which do manufacture for the US?
So let's sit down and analyze rationally, all this. And I'm always surprised to see even best of the analysts get carried away in this narrative getting built about 250. Let's understand the US compulsion. If you recollect, he has been threatening for a while, but if you really sit down and analyze, he has been targeting innovator, not generics. So the point which he is trying to always break, a lot of companies who are US-centric companies, but they manufacture their product particularly from Europe area, and then they have huge 50 to 80 or 90% margin and they sell in US. So they understand this is a very large margin they are making, and that's what something they are talking about. A lot of people read as at least on the R&D perspective, the budget will go down. So that's a secondary impact or tertiary impact which can happen, but their focus is on innovator, and this time also he was not able to do anything. So despite making noise, then ultimately his written letter, bring down the prices. Now let's understand the larger thesis. Okay. What is the way US, is there any source of buying a generic or pharmaceutical? India has, the biggest supplier of generic thing. And if innovators are penalized for whatever reason, I think money will or people will shift towards generic. And Indian generic are 70 to 90% cheaper as compared to comparative formulation in US itself. So I think US or Mr. Trump does not have too many options. We to just try to control pharma. I don't think, see, you can defer you're buying a car for 2 years. You can defer buying garments or clothes for, let's say, for 6 months or 8 months. But you can't defer even buying medicine for even for next 2 hours also. That is the compulsion. Excuse me. That's the compulsion he has. So I think we have to understand with more maturity, what is the objective. Yes, he is making noise. He does not have choices. And anyway, if you want to source somewhere and setting up it takes 3 to 5 years time to build a capacity. And even then, even US FDA approval take nowadays around 12 to 15 months, even 18 months also. Within lot many plants are still waiting for US approval. Within US, they are not able to devote time. Their bandwidth is also limited. So I don't think anything in a hurry should happen on the pharma space, and Indian generic are in a very, very comfortable thing. And some of the companies like we were listening to, Rupin, they have manufacturing facilities in US. Arvindo is one of the large players, also have 2 manufacturing facilities. Third one they have recently acquired. So we have to identify all the companies more from a backup perspective. So all the generic companies, all the pharma companies who also have bases in US or other country, particularly if they have base in US, will psychologically give them comfort. If something can drastically change, they can easily export or manufacture there. I think if you ask me, one single thesis in the current context is the beneficiary in absolute terms and relative terms is pharma. If you ask me where I should put my money on, if I have to deploy today, then I say put money in pharma funds. This is absolutely no-brainer trade, right?